Welcome to Words of Light for Today, a teaching ministry that shares godly principles while giving spiritual insight and divine revelation from the Word of God for the everydayness life brings. Be richly blessed as we join Linda Adkins.
Let's go to Matthew chapter 12. In verse 9 it says, "And when he was departed hence, he went into their synagogue, and behold, there was a man which had a withered hand. And he asked him, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? That they might accuse him. And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore is it lawful to do well on the Sabbath day? And then he said to the man, Stretch forth your hand. And he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole, like as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him." Now turn over to Matthew 3. Mark 3. Mark 3. Verse 1, and it says, "And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had a withered hand. And they watched him, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. And he said unto the man which had the withered hand, Stand forth. And he said unto them, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill? And they held their peace. And when he had looked around about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto the man, Stretch forth your hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And the Pharisees went out and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him." Wow. There's an obvious difference here between the way that Jesus and the Pharisees felt about the Sabbath. Now, the Pharisees, listen to me, were not there to worship God. And their questions to Jesus they were not asked out of a loving concern. Are you going to heal this man? They had no love in that question that they asked him. They weren't there to worship. They were there as accusing authorities. They were the authorities, and they were there accusing. It says that they might have to accuse him, and they wanted to judge Jesus by their own regulations. Okay, so we see a church setting here. First of all, they were not there to worship God. Okay? Their questions was not out of concern. It was out of accusing. And they wanted to catch him moving against the regulations that they had, and they wanted to judge him. Okay, 3 bad reasons for going to church. Three really not so good. You don't come to church to worship the Lord, then, you're wasting your time. Now, Let me tell you this. This may be something you know or you don't know, but let me tell you this. The Jews had been for years and years compiling a number of regulations, a code of regulation that they were trying to produce so that it would seem impossible for men to sin. As a matter of fact, when you look all this up and study it out a little bit, they had over 1,500, I think it was 1,521 or 2, different regulations about the Sabbath. 1,500, over 1,500 different regulations about the Sabbath day and how you kept it. Now, it had nothing to do with worshiping God, had nothing to do with really caring about the people, had nothing to do with any of that. But they were compiling a code of regulation whereby they could not be accused of sinning. Isn't that odd? Lord have mercy. So, when they see what he does, they did all of this with somewhat of a sincerity and a misguided zeal, but they turn their observations of the Sabbath into a legalistic ritual rather than a loving service that they could have between God and themselves. He would have come to their services. He would have met them when they came to worship him. But they came to observe all of these regulations that they had compiled. People have different reasons for going to church. My mom is there. They want me to. I have a class. I have to do this. This is the reason I go. I'm faithful. Now, when you read this and you see how Jesus responded to them, especially when he was angry. Mark is the one that says that he looked around on them with anger. And you know what an angry look looks like. I mean, when somebody's mad, you don't have to say, do you think they were mad? I mean, that is the most obvious look on anybody's face. If you think they were mad, chances are they were, very. So the thing was, he was not trying to do away with the Sabbath. Nothing he said to them in either book, Matthew's rendition or Mark's, was trying to do away with the Sabbath. He was trying, listen, to restore it back to its original intent. The Sabbath had been made by God, but these Jews had taken this and stretched it all kinds of ways, making up all of these regulations that people were to live by that had absolutely nothing to do with Jesus. So when he comes in, he wasn't doing away with it. Instead, his actions and what he was saying was focusing on his own Sabbath activities. Now listen, what was his activity there? He was going to relieve that man of his burden. He was going to heal that man. He was going to bring back the original intent that God had for establishing the Sabbath to begin with. Nothing he said was saying, you don't have to observe this any longer. Nothing he did there tried to take anything away from what God had intended to begin with. But yet they were there to accuse and to judge him not according to the word, but according to their 1,521 regulations. If you have to go to church like that with people like that, I'd soon stay home. Hadn't you?
Amen.
Really had. But he came there to deliver. He came there to release burden. He came there to heal. That's what the Sabbath was all about. He said, if you have a sheep that falls into a pit, don't you care enough about that sheep to get him out, even if it's on the Sabbath? So he was saying the Sabbath was made to relieve burden.
Yes.
The Sabbath was established to heal. The Sabbath was established to deliver. The Sabbath was created by God so that we could help worship Him and help each other. Oh, my Lord. Now, this is not a Christmas message, but I'm telling you, it's a message that we need to get on our mind. Because right now, there are a lot of rules and regulations that are going on in churches that people are following that instead of learning how to really worship God. People think that singing and clapping and even raising their hands, that's worship. But worship is when you contact God from the very depth of your spirit to the very height of His spirit. When your spirit and His spirit converge, that's what you call worship. You can do that without singing. You can do that without music. Now, I'm telling you that he was trying to show those people God's intent and God's way of showing the Sabbath and living in the Sabbath. And instead, they try to make all of these regulations that they can do so that they can say they don't break any regulation whatsoever. Therefore, if they don't break the Sabbath, they don't sin. Now, the Scripture did say back in the Old Testament concerning the Sabbath that they were not to carry burdens on the Sabbath. Now, one of the regulations were that you could not, in the coat that they wore, in the outer garment that they wore, you could not even have so much as a needle or a pin stuck in your garment, because that was a burden. That was something that you was carrying. And this, when you read this, you think, well, how religious could you get with this? But when Jesus came, He wanted to establish and reestablish some of the things that they had so moved out of proportion. He was going to show them how to actually have God in their midst. Amen. And there was several times in these Gospels where He deliberately goes into the synagogue and heals somebody, because the Sabbath was made to do that. That's right. The Sabbath was established to deliver, to ease burdens, to help each other, to speak to God, to let God speak to you. And instead, they make something else entirely out of it. Now, you see, the thing of it is, the man with the withered hand, he probably didn't know what to do. He wanted to be free. He wanted to be healed. But you see, listen to me now. His condition was a chronic condition. He'd had that for years. He may have been born with that withered hand. But nevertheless, that withered hand was not going to kill him. So you could actually say it wasn't a life or death situation. He could have waited till the next day. He could have found the man, found out where he lived if he wanted him healed, and to observe what the Jews had put into regulations in the code. He could have said, well, I won't do that today. I'll wait till tomorrow, and tomorrow won't be the Sabbath. But he didn't. He didn't. He didn't wait. He didn't want to wait because he wanted to show them this is what the Sabbath is for. Not what you said, not what you've got wrote down, not what you have put into your code of regulations, but what God has intended and what he said. Now, he could have waited, but he didn't because he wanted to show people he's a healing God. He's a delivering God. He is a God that will relieve burdens. He is a God that, whether this is a chronic condition or something that has an acute condition, he's willing and able and wanting to heal. Amen. So even though he could have waited, he purposely shows them this is what the Sabbath is for. Stretch forth your hand. The woman that was all bent over, she had come to church, I believe it said 17 years. She'd come to church like that. So it was a chronic condition. It was a chronic condition. And so he sees her and he said, woman, you are made whole. And immediately it says she straightens up. Now that made the whole church mad. And they began to attack and accuse and question. And he said, listen, had not this daughter of Abraham, does she not have the right to be free, to be delivered? Again, he was trying to show them what the Sabbath was for and what you were supposed to do on the Sabbath. Well, after your nose rides on your knees for 17 years, you're pretty much used to going around like that. There again, he could have waited till the next day, but he didn't. He was trying to show them this is why the Sabbath was given. This is why he established it to start with. This is how he wants us to behave on the Sabbath. He wants us to look for somebody to relieve them of their burden. He wants us to look for somebody that needs healing. Now, our spiritual condition parallels this man with the withered arms condition. He had a chronic condition. His arm withered up was a chronic thing. And our spiritual condition is a chronic thing. But he gave the Sabbath and the Lord of the Sabbath to change the physical and the spiritual. We need healing from the inside out, deliverance from the inside out. Let me tell you what I've learned about apples. I had some apples the other day that I was chopping up. And inside this apple was a worm. And when you looked at that apple, there was no indication whatsoever that anything was wrong with that apple. You could not see where a worm had wormed its way through. There was no holes. It was just as slick and red and pretty. I mean, beautiful apple. But yet, when I cut it open, there was a worm. You ever seen that? Worm inside? So, when I looked up and began to read about why apples have worms in them with no holes on the outside, what they said in this was that it begins before they are formed. When an apple is still a flower, a worm lays eggs on the flower. And the apple grows up from the flower with the worm in it. That's why you can't tell that there's a worm in there from looking at the outside. You can't tell that a lot of people need real deliverance just by looking at the outside. You can't determine that people have chronic illnesses on the inside of their nature and their souls just by looking at the outside. Most of them wear ties. Most of them are very smartly dressed. He was trying to show them these regulations that you have here. With these regulations that you're trying to accuse me with, that's not even the reason that God established the Sabbath to start with. He established the Sabbath to heal, to deliver, to help, to relieve. My gracious. There's a lot of things about people you can't tell just by looking at the outside. Amen. Are you hearing me? But that apple just grows right up out of that flower, and that worm is already in there. But the Sabbath was established to correct our spiritual chronic disease as well as our physical chronic disease. Are you hearing me? He could have waited to the next day. They waited to the next day in Egypt to get rid of the frogs. Frogs had crawled all over everything they had, everything, frogs everywhere, in the food, in their bowls, in their beds, all over the place. And he said, I can get rid of the frogs for you. Moses says to to Pharaoh, I'll get rid of the frogs. He said, well, just come back tomorrow. You want to stay with the frogs just a little while longer. How ridiculous that sounded. Just come back tomorrow. Now, this turns out that we're going to go into Christmas week, but this turns out to be a very good message for this kind of the end of the year. I don't want a worm that has grown up and causing me spiritual chronic problems. You can probably find the same article about worms and apples that I found. Are you hearing me? But there's things in our natures that, before we move into an entirely different year, there's things in our natures that need to be changed. Even if they have to be cut open and find and flip it out. Well, if I found a worm in an apple, I'd just throw the whole thing away. Well, he could say that about us because he sees the worms. But he deemed us worth saving. He deemed us worth giving up his son for. He deemed us worth his allowing him to die instead of us. Wow. The Sabbath was to heal, was to rejoice, was to worship, was to declare the lordship of God the Father, was to relieve burden. It's still that. It's still that. The same reason that he was trying to show them, the same reason that he was trying to say to them, this is what it's for, is the same reason today that we come together. We come together to help. We did not want to go to bed and go to sleep without praying that his children, God raise them up and save them. Bring them to a saving knowledge of you. And when we pray in faith, we are relieving the burden. When he hung up talking to him and talking to me, he felt, okay, I got this now. We're going to be okay. I might have to wait till 12 o'clock, but this thing is going to be okay. And you know what? It is. Because he's called us to relieve one another's burdens. If you get in a ditch, I want to come try and help you out. And you want to be able to do the same thing. No, they got themselves in that ditch, and just let them stay down there a little while. Maybe it'll teach them something. Okay, well, let's look at you the next time you get down there, and let's let you learn a lesson. See how stupid that sounds? He was telling those people, there's a chronic condition here, but I want to fix it today. Yes. There's a chronic thing going on here, but I want it stopped today. Same way with the woman who was all bowed over. She deserves to be free. She deserves. She's the daughter of Abraham. She deserves to be free. She deserves for me to move this. And all he said, woman, you are made whole. That's all it took. Less than a second.
You have been watching Words of Light for Today with Linda Adkins. For prayer or a free CD of today's message, please call 904-289-9727. Visit our website at wordsoflight.org, where you may order explosive and anointed teaching messages or other great resources from our bookstore. Be blessed and join Linda Adkins next time as she brings Words of Light for Today.